today I'm going to share with you, it's one transaction, but there were multiple obstacles in this one transaction to get it closed. So I just want to share with you how difficult it can be to get to the closing table and actually close, to kind of encourage you when you come across transactions that are difficult, that it's not just you or anything like that, that sometimes transactions just take everything out of you to get to the closing table. So stay tuned for some helpful tips and strategies when deals just are pretty close to falling apart, what to do. Okay, so I wrote down a couple things I wanted to make sure that I cover. So first, in the beginning, I thought that this would be a really easy transaction. First of all, that was my expectation. And the reason why my expectation was that way is because this was the 5th property that we were doing with the same owner. So, you know, the title company already has all the documents, and, you know, I just thought, okay, this is going to be easy. I already know the owner. I just really thought, okay, this is going to be easy. But it just turned into this crazy mess. And the first thing that went wrong was, since this was the 5th property, I had already been following up with him, offering to purchase the property, and I already had a price and all those things. So when he called and said he was ready to sell, you know, we already had a price settled and everything. And the deal initially fell apart because when I went to the house was not in the same condition it was the last time that I saw the house and I put in my offer. Because after I had put in my first offer, the owner had a new tenant move in. And this tenant had damaged the place. There was like some water damage when I went. And the property owner is out of state, so he didn't really know that the condition of the house changed until I had to go back and tell him, hey, you know, there's water damage now in your property, and the estimate to repair the house is higher. So I actually need to reduce, you know, my price, right? And I had never done anything like that with him, so he was like flipping out, like, come on, we've done business before. How much damage could the tenant have done? You know, he was just really upset. So the deal completely fell apart because he wasn't negotiable at all, because he kind of felt like, you know, I was overestimating the damage the tenant did and things like that. So it fell apart. So that was like, you know, a lesson learned for me, that even though this was the 5th property and I had originally, you know, inspected this property before, that just one tenant moving in and a couple, I think maybe he was there maybe 8 months or so, had just, you know, done so much damage that there was just more repair work needed now. So a couple months after that passed, and the wife actually of the owner called me like 2 o'clock one morning saying it was an emergency to give her a call. And I was kind of like, what in the world? But I didn't get the message until I just happened to be up late. I was up maybe like at 4, and then I saw that I had a message at 2 o'clock in the morning, and I was like, what in the world? So I called them like at 7 or 8 o'clock that morning, and I didn't get them. And then I told my assistant, I was like, hey, you know, call them today, you know, a couple times to see, you know, what's going on. She didn't get them. So like the next day again, I called. Finally, someone picked up. It was the owner. He was like, oh, I've been trying to reach you. I really need to sell this property. I'm willing to drop the price. He was actually going with another company in the area, but they're much bigger than me. They're called express home buyers. They have like commercials on TV. But usually when somebody, I can't even say usually, all the time when somebody calls me after they have an offer from Express Home Buyers, I can always beat that price by like $10,000, $20,000 easily, because I just don't have, like, you know, I don't have commercial on TV and all this high staff or something. So I just usually can offer a higher price than Express Home Buyers. So he knew that. So he said, oh, I really need to sell it. So I was just going to sign the contract with Express Home Buyers and just, you know, take that hit because I really need to sell. So I was kind of like at a loss because I was like, wow, he's going to sell to them when he knows that I can beat their offer. So that was a little weird. So I kind of knew something was going on that he really, really needed to sell. So, you know, I rushed, updated my contract with the new price that I could do, and he signed it. I'm thinking, okay, we're going to close. This is the 5th property. Title company already had paperwork. We were planning on closing in like 3 days because we already had everything. And then this is where things started to get more complicated, is that all his properties are owned free and clear. This particular one came up with a lien, and that just threw everything off because we couldn't close with this bank lien. They were saying that there was a mortgage on it, and the problem was the bank couldn't even find any information. They were asking us, that they were like, can you provide more information? Is there anything the owner has? You know, is he sure that we're the owners of this loan? We don't have anything. We can't find it. And that went on, trying to remember now, maybe like a week or something. So the owner started to kind of panic and came to me and said, listen, I need to close this like immediately. He said because basically what had happened, he had got arrested, and that's why he needed to sell the property, is because he needed to pay his bail. So he was like, I'm like, what? So that is why he had completely changed and said, listen, I just need to sell this. I'll take the discounted price. I need to sell it because he got mixed up in something, and now he needed bail money. So the bail's bonds buys guy is like really on him, because when I showed him our contract, we were going to close in 3 days. That is what the bail's bondsman was expecting his money. So as time is going on, you know, they're kind of thinking, you know, does he really have the money? And then if he doesn't have the money, you know, they're going to come and pick him up. So then this is really putting me at an even really strict deadline to get this closed, because if he gets locked back, if he's locked up, he can't sign any paperwork to close on this property. So I'm like, stop. I can't close. We have the money, we're ready to close, but there's this title that the bank is like, we can't find the loan, we can't release it, and we're just stuck. He's yelling at me, oh, come on, you guys know this. This is the 5th property. All these houses are owned free and clear. You know, he's just screaming at me at this point because he's getting all this pressure from the bail's bonds guy. So what I ended up doing is I took a risk, and what I did was I offered in advance. So I paid out $2,000 before we closed for him to give to the bail's bonds, to kind of let you know, to say, hey, this is coming. I mean, the money is coming. And really $2,000 wasn't much of what the bill was, but you know, I couldn't give like a $20,000 advance, $30,000 advance, but still a $2,000 advance was still a big risk for me, because you know, what if we didn't you know, just what if something happens, we don't end up closing. So I do the $2,000 advance because of the pressure. You know, he's like, you know, he's basically, you know, emptying all his accounts, taking, you know, just giving the bail's bond as much money as he can so that he doesn't, you know, so that he stays out free. So finally, I think like a week or two passed. Like, I mean, we're like on this. He's like looking through every document or whatever. And the problem is this house, you know, had been, you know, paid off like so many years ago that, you know, he's like, you know, pulling old boxes, just trying to see if he can find anything at all to get the bank that will help them find the loan. So finally, like 2 weeks later, the bank, they don't find anything. So finally the title company says, listen, if you can get the bank just to give us a letter saying they're going to release this lien, they'll let us close. So finally I called the bank and begged them. I'm like, please, you guys can't find anything. All these houses have been paid off. So finally they sent a letter to the title company saying they're going to release the lien. I don't know if they ever even found the loan or what, or just from us calling or what, but they finally say, okay, that they will release it. So we're like, okay, finally, we can close. And still one more thing goes wrong. This house was owned by a business. So like the owner name was like an LLC or something like that. And so the business needs to be in good standing for us to go to closing, like under the SEC rules and things like that. So what happened was it wasn't in good standing. Like we needed like a certificate of good standing and something else, a certificate of fact, or I can't remember what all these documents are. They're not much. They're like $12, $8 or something like that. But what happened was originally when this first started, the owner was saying, hey, I'm going to go down, I'm just going to drive up there, get the documents, get it expedited the same day. The problem is when all this drama started with the title and he's searching to find the information for the title, and then the bills bond guy is on him and he's trying to reassure the guy that money's coming, he never went to the SEC and got the documents. So when we got ready to close, we didn't have the certificate of good standing. And I was like, oh my goodness, don't tell me we got this far and we can't close because of it, like an $8 document. And I think like when I called the SEC, they were like, oh, it's like a 12-day turnaround. I was like, I can't wait 12 days, please. They were like, well, the owner of the company has to come down, fill out paperwork. If we get it expedited, you can get the title. I think it was like 2 days. And I was like, even 2 or 3 days is not enough, because then they have to, once SEC prepares it, then we'll have to wait, for them to mail it out. So we were just like, I was like, come on, we need to close today. So I'm like, something has to happen. So I tell the owner, I said, listen, please just drive to the SEC and, just beg them, just tell them, basically just go down there and plead and beg that you need a document today. So they go down, they do that, they get it expedited, they say, okay, expedited takes 48 hours. I'm like, ugh. So I still just keep the title company working like we're closing, and I'm like, please, like something, just something, please come through so we can close. And then, while we're going through all the documents, the closing documents, because I'm going through all the closing documents to make sure we have everything, I get a fax. And I'm like, this is a good thing I stopped. I'm like, who's the fax from? Because my fax comes through my email and then I can see it. But I got a fax. I'm like, and I didn't recognize the number. And I'm like, what is that? So I just clicked on it real quick so I could see the preview. And it was from the SEC. I was so happy because what it was, somehow when he went down there and like begged for the document, he left my fax number. So once they prepared the document, they faxed it to me so that I immediately had it to give to the title company, and we were able to close. So that's what I'm saying. It's like so many things that went wrong, or that are stressing me out, or I'm just like, ugh, just the pressure. I'm like, this is supposed to be way easier than it, but sometimes just multiple things pop up, and you kind of have to stay calm, because you can be calm and effective, because I can get really like, so I have to like talk to myself and say, Neva, you can be calm and effective, and just to calm down so you can think through different options, how I can solve this, kind of think out of the box, because like I said, I don't usually give advances, but some home buying companies do give advances. But usually in the fine print, you'll see it's going to say they'll give the advance once they have a clear title. So I actually gave an advance payment of $2,000 before we had the clear title, but I just did that because this was the 5th house, and I was like, I felt that if it would help to give us more time, and I don't know, somehow I really thought that I was going to get it closed. And, I did the advance payment. So I just want to encourage you that, when you're trying to work on any, house transaction and things pop up, that be calm and effective and think outside the box for solutions, because obstacles are just always going to come. And the people that get to the closing table are the people that come up with solutions to solve those obstacles. So just want to share some encouragement and tell you, just go out there and be calm and effective. See you next week. Alrighty. Bye-bye.